it's Gwyn and welcome back to the channel. Is it worth purchasing Grey Market LPs? You don't have to delve too far online to fall over a plethora of releases that tread that fine line between the illegal and counterfeit items and those grey items which hoover up the content that may have a more ambiguous origin. For the more inexperienced buyer, it may be difficult to tell these items apart from releases which are officially sanctioned by the artist or the label themselves. Whether you're crate digging or at a record fair, whether you're shopping online, even the largest online retailers have these grey market albums in their listings. In the Beatles world, there are many labels which take advantage of differences in copyright laws in varying jurisdictions. Many of these albums are of live content from a variety of sources, and as a result there's a variety of quality too. Heck, we know that listening to a Beatles live show is a challenge anyway by the considerable noise from the audience, but it can also be challenged by being a duplicate of a duplicate of a duplicate. Some of these recordings were made on reel-to-reel tape recorders placed adjacent to a radio or a television, broadcasting these once-only listening experiences. The sound quality that I've experienced, though, is, well, it's pretty much a mixed bag. Some can be unlistenable, but others can be superb. You often find that these releases are limited edition, phasing in and out of availability. A release might disappear only to resurface with different packaging or on a different coloured vinyl some months later. Maybe this is a deliberate ploy to evade the focus of the record labels protecting their artists' original works. Who knows? Anyway, over the last couple of years I've made a little bit of an effort to pick up some of these albums, mainly of live performances, most of which I've previously held on either cassette or CD, but I'm a sucker for vinyl and thought I would supplement my collection by picking up some of these albums. In terms of cost, well, they aren't too much of a gamble, to be honest. I would say the average price that I've paid for some of these albums would be about 15 quid. And certainly I've not paid any more than about 20 quid for any one of these. The quality of the vinyl, pressings that is, if you ignore the sound quality, but the actual pressings themselves have actually been really very good. And these have been matched by the sleeve design and printing too, which is excellent on the whole. What you can get now is way better than similar items you might have picked up back in the 80s, for example. But let me just run through some of the LPs that I have picked up and give you some of my thoughts. Let's start with this one. Granada to the BBC from 1962. It's on Rhythm and Blues Records, and this is a mixture of BBC recordings and Granada TV shows from March, June, August, September, October and December 1962. As a result, we got a mixture on here of Pete playing the drums and Ringo playing the drums. There's also hand clapping on some of these performances by local fans who were bussed in from Liverpool to Manchester. It's got varying sound quality from performance to performance, but some of the standout tracks have been Some Other Guy and I Saw Us Standing There in particular, which has John playing harmonica. This is not a bad album, to be honest. It's still got the label on it. I paid 15 quid for this one. If you want to see what the track listing is, have a look at it there. You can freeze frame it at your own leisure. But generally, this is a pretty good LP. Next up, we got London to Manchester from 1963. Yeah, bizarrely, tracks 1 to 4 are from a Swedish TV show from October 1963, but it is a bloody good performance, I've got to say. And there are a number of performance fragments, as they put it, and these are taken from various newsreels that were broadcast at the time. Plus, this album has the Royal Variety performances on it. Again, I'll show you the track listing there, if you can see that. Again, I really quite like the attention to detail, the way that these albums have been designed, replicating the style of LPs at the time, using similar typefaces from, in this case, it looks like from with the Beatles. But all in all, these albums I think are really good. Again, this one's on the Rhythm and Blues label. Next up we have this one. It's been around, kicking around for ages actually. It's the Beatles Broadcasting Corporation, 1963. It's on the London Calling label, and it's on purple vinyl. Side 1 features the Jukebox Jury show recording. The second side features the It's the Beatles show, which was, I believe, recorded at the Liverpool Empire and was largely for local fan club members. Again, a really good performance that, and the Jukebox Jury is really well worth a listen. Good humour from all of them. Don't like the latest Elvis release at the time, if I recall, but here we go. These are the tracks that you may be interested in. Again, nice quality production on the packaging, good pictures, complimentary design, and I think this is again a pretty good release. Next up, the Indiana State Fair performance, and this is on Rockwell Records and it's yellow vinyl. This is a pretty good performance, to be honest. My only niggle with it is the final track, which is Long Tall Sally, fades out just before the end of the recording, but you're going to get that sort of thing. But generally, the quality of the performance in both the sound quality and the level of performance is pretty good. Not so keen on the packaging and the design of this one. It's okay, but the performance not bad from a 1964 one. Next up we have the Festival Hall, Melbourne, Australia, 1964, and the Melbourne show is actually one of the very best shows in terms of sound recording quality that is around. This record includes also a number of outtakes from 1964 to supplement the show. Obviously, shows were really running for about 30 minutes at max in some instances. So this LP is supplemented by featuring a number of studio outtakes. So we've got take 4 of Thank You Girl, From Me to You, take 4, Hard Day's Night, take 7, I'm a Loser, take 8, and What You're Doing, take 11. But the reason I got this was for the show itself at Melbourne, and this really is a cracking show. Next up, the Empire Stadium, Vancouver in 1964, again on the Rockwell label. I've got to say that the sound quality of this is one of the poorest actually, pretty distorted. The show was a bit of a rogue one in the Beatles' career, as there were a number of pauses in the show as the crowd was in a very, very frenzied state. I think Derek Taylor had to come on and try to calm the crowd. So the Beatles were rocking through their set in order to get it finished, I think. But there we go. That's the track listing, which is pretty familiar for that time in the 1964 tour. And the next stop on the tour was the Beatles' performance at the Hollywood Bowl. So this one I think is probably one of the more disappointing albums, but I'm still quite happy to have it in my collection. Next up, Philadelphia 1964 on the Rockwell label again. This on green vinyl. This is a characterful performance with more than its fair share of fluffed lyrics and quite a bit of giggling throughout. The sound quality is pretty good, to be honest, and it's not a bad show. Let me show you the track listing there. go. Pretty good show overall, despite the fluffs and giggling. Still, again, I'm quite happy to have this sitting alongside the others in the collection. Palais de Sport in Paris, 1965. This is on the London Calling label. This one's on green vinyl. This is the first stop on their 65 European tour, and the performance was on June the 20th, 1965. We got a slightly revamped set list for this tour as it kicks off their 65 tour. The performances include I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, I Feel Fine and Ticket to Ride, some of their newer songs. While the sound quality is pretty good from the start, there are already detectable traces of the boys going through the motion a bit. The whole of the concert feels as though it's recorded and performed in second gear and nowhere near as tight and verging. And to be honest, it's verging on the sloppy. Here's the track listing for those interested. As I said, you can start to detect the oomph is going out of some of the recordings at this, out of the performances at this time, and we can see the trajectory that is all too evident, I'm afraid. So, on tour in Japan, 1966, again on the Rhythm and Blues label. This features both the June the 30th and the July the 1st show at the Budokan Arena. With the more reserved Japanese audiences, the sound recordings of these shows is pretty much as good as you get, with very little crowd noise. In terms of quality, though, this does expose the performances for what they are. For those songs that are well established in their set, they knock them off really well. But some of the other songs and the newer songs that are in this set list, some of the arrangements display some fragilities in their performances, notably If I Needed Someone, Day Tripper and Paperback Writer. For this album, all the song introductions have been edited out, so it's just leaving the songs themselves, which is, I think, probably a godsend actually, and it also means we get all the music from the two shows. To be honest, there isn't too much of a difference between the two shows, but it's a good album on the whole, and as I said, the sound quality of this is pretty good if you ignore some of the arrangements. But overall, very happy to have this in the collection too. And finally, Get Back, the Rooftop Performance of 1969, and this album came out in 2022, I think, and it's in stereo and obviously sourced from the Disney Plus documentary. Now, I would have been a willing participant in buying an official Apple release of this album if it existed, but sadly not. This is a remarkable album. On green marble vinyl, great packaging, including a poster, and there's your poster, and also an inner sleeve with some great pictures from the concert or the performance itself. There are no indications on this album as to what label is going to take credit for this album, and its availability seems to, so we say, fluctuate a bit. The only copy I could find currently online was a copy for £40 plus postage and packing, and I think I paid no more than £20 about 18 months ago when it was pretty widely available, but not now, so obviously lawyers have stepped in somewhere in the process. So there you have it, live performances by the Beatles on a mixture of labels. But what are your thoughts on these kind of LPs? Are they deserving of a place in your collection or not? Please post your opinions in the comments below, and if you'd like to support the channel more, then please consider becoming a subscriber. It's free. Anyway, that's just about all for now. So until next time, bye for now.